Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Putin says Ukraine's attack on Russia is aimed at ceasefire negotiations. Ukrainian President Zelensky terms Ukraine's cross-border assault a matter of security. Controversy surrounds as Elon Musk's interview with Donald Trump on social media platform X starts after getting delayed due to technical reasons. Musk says a massive cyber attack hit X, resulting in the delay. US has Gaza peace talks to continue. Expect ceasefire possible amid heightened tensions in West Asia. Greece's worst wildfire this year spread into the Athens suburbs, forcing hundreds of people to flee. Evacuations ordered in 30 areas, power cuts in the region. Greece calls in help from EU allies. Residential doctors across India continue to protest the brutal rape and murder of a doctor in Kolkata hospital. Indian Medical Association demands impartial probe. National Commission for Women team to submit the report. Amid evacuations taking place in Belgorod region by the Russian forces, President Putin said that Ukraine is trying to improve negotiating position with Kursk offensive. 11,000 evacuated from the border region, and Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky says that Russia's strikes deserve a fair response. We get to more in this report ahead.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has said on Monday that Ukraine was trying to improve negotiating position with Kursk offensive, but it would not succeed. Speaking in a televised meeting with top security officials and regional governors, Putin said that the enemy will receive a worthy response.
It is becoming obvious and clear now why the Kyiv regime had refused our proposals to return to a peaceful settlement land, as well as the proposals of interested and neutral mediators. It appears that the enemy, with the help of his Western masters, is fulfilling their will, and the West is fighting us with the hands of the Ukrainians. The enemy will certainly receive a worthy response, and all the goals facing us will, without a doubt, be achieved.
Early on Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia had launched nearly 2,000 cross-border strikes from its western Kursk region at Ukraine's Sumy region over the summer. Something he said had deserved a fair Ukrainian response.
Only from the beginning of this summer and only from the Kursk region, our Sumy region suffered almost 2,000 strikes. Artillery mortars, drones. We also monitor every missile strike, and each such strike deserves a fair response.
Russia has begun evacuations in another city, which is the Belgorod region, as it eyes rising military activity across the border in Ukraine. Governor of Belgorod region visited border regions after clashes broke out between the Russian and Ukrainian forces in the area. The governor of Belgorod region announced on Monday that he had ordered civilians in one district of the region to head for safety. Russian forces are battling an Ukrainian offensive in the neighboring Kursk region. Russia has imposed a tight security regime in the Kursk, Bryansk and Belgorod regions, while its ally Belarus said it was bolstering its troop numbers as it border after Minsk said Ukraine had violated its airspace with drones. Russian officials say Ukraine's attack on Russia's sovereign territory are aimed at showing its Western supporters that Kiev can still muster major military operations while trying to gain a bargaining chip ahead of possible ceasefire talks. According to the state news agency, 11,000 people have been evacuated from Krasnaya Yaruga district in Russia's Belgorod region. Meanwhile, Russia's air defenses have destroyed 11 drones that Ukraine launched on the intervening night of Sunday and Monday, targeting the border Kursk region. Russian air defense units also destroyed 5 other Ukrainian-launched drones over the Belgorod region, which also borders Ukraine, and 2 over the Voronezh region. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin will hold talks on Tuesday with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, who is visiting Russia, as reported by state news agency. Ukraine said on Monday it had not seen any sign of a build-up of Belarusian forces near their border, contradicting a statement from Minsk that it had sent more troops to the area. Belarusian Defense Ministry had released on Sunday video of several tanks being loaded onto a train ready for transportation, following the statements accusing Ukraine of violating its airspace. Bureau Report, DD, India.
A fire broke out at the Russian-controlled Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant over the weekend, and Russia and Ukraine once again accused each other of causing the blaze. The fire was extinguished by Monday morning, and the perpetrator remains unclear. The International Atomic Energy Agency warned that these attacks endanger nuclear safety and increase the risk of a nuclear accident. Megumi Lim gets us more from Kyiv.
The IAEA said its staff reportedly saw thick dark smoke rising from the northern part of the 6-reactor plant in southern Ukraine on Sunday after multiple blasts. The fire reportedly began at around 8 p.m. local time and was extinguished by Monday morning. There were no reported signs of elevated radiation. Now, Russia's state nuclear corporation Rosatom claimed the fire had burned for about 3 hours and caused serious damage to the cooling towers, and they accused Ukraine for carrying out 2 drone strikes that caused the fire. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova accused Kyiv of sowing nuclear terror. But from the Ukrainian side, the head of the military administration in Kyiv-controlled neighboring Nikopol, where the plant is visible from, said Russian forces had fired on the cooling towers, and Ukraine's nuclear power company Energoatom said Russian arson could have started the blaze and claimed that Moscow was using these cooling towers to store military equipment. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on the IAEA to hold Russia accountable for this provocation. He said that as long as Moscow had control of the nuclear power plant, the situation there will not be normal. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is Europe's largest nuclear power station and has been under Russian occupation since March 2022. All 6 reactors are in a cold shutdown and rely on an external power to keep their nuclear material cool. But because of its proximity to the front lines, nuclear watchdogs have repeatedly raised concerns about safety risks and have issued warnings to stop attacks that endanger nuclear safety. Megumi Lim in Kyiv reporting for DD India.
All right, the U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's interview with billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk finally got underway on Musk's social media platform X, following a lengthy delay caused by technical problems that kept many users from accessing the live stream. Musk said massive cyber attack on X led to the issue. The internet can have bad players, and sometimes those bad players find different ways to harass or manipulate others. A denial of service, or DOS, or distributed denial of service, that is DDoS attack, is one of those ways. Now, these attacks may render a device temporarily unable to connect to the internet. U.S. former President Donald Trump, in his conversation with Elon Musk, came out heavily against his Democrat rival Kamala Harris. He attacked President Joe Biden for allowing massive immigration in the U.S. He accused Kamala Harris for copying his agenda, like no tax on tips. He also said that Kamala Harris was not trying to speak on illegal immigration. That was never her agenda for the last 3.5 years. Speaking on the bid to assassinate him, he said that it was just a miracle that he is alive. Trump, in his free-flowing interview with Musk, said Putin was his good friend. Trump also said that there would have been no war between Russia and Ukraine had he been the president. Trump also claimed that Hamas would not have dared, and there would have not been war with Israel if he were at the White House. All right, Nick Harper joins us from Washington, D.C. Nick, good morning. Now, we've just given a broad outline of the interview of Donald Trump with Elon Musk, where he seems very confident that had he been the president, things would have been different geopolitically. Get us more highlights of the interview.
Yeah, plenty in the course of this now nearly hour-long conversation between the two of them. Elon Musk making it clear at the very beginning that this was not an interview, rather it was a conversation. And just bear in mind that these two are politically aligned. It's not as if this is an impartial interviewer probing him with questions. It's more an opportunity for Elon Musk to allow Donald Trump to speak, and to speak to potentially more than 1 million people who the X currently says are tuned in and listening to this. We've heard many things from Donald Trump so far. Many of them are similar refrains to the type of things that he says during rallies, very typical to his stump speech that he makes at those events. He spent about 20 minutes or so speaking about that assassination attempt. That's after they talked about the delay, the technical issues. Some suggestion at one point that they made was that the Democrats were behind the attack to try and silence Donald Trump from being able to hold this. He's also spoken about immigration, warning that if the Democrats get in again, there won't be a country, suggesting that as many as 50 to 60 million people from right around the world would be allowed into the United States, and saying that many of them are criminals or mentally impaired and not able to get here. Instead, they are shipped here by governments of different countries. Plenty of claims there that seem to be unfounded. He's not suggesting any evidence to back it up. But yes, he also spoke about foreign policy and made it clear in what he said that he has good relationships with people like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un of North Korea, and saying that those conflicts that are currently happening around the world would not have been taking place if he'd won the 2020 election instead of Joe Biden.
All right, Nick, also get us more on this DDoS attack, or the DOS attack, which led to a temporary pause or temporary halt, in the interview. Get us more on that, because this is said that, some bad players can hinder the online platform. So get us more on this. What kind of an attack? How serious or grave was this attack, the cyber attack?
Well, yes, it significantly hindered the ability for this to happen. It was about 35, 36 minutes before it was able to get started. I was trying to log on during that time. I was being hit with a page that simply said that this space was not available. There was an emoji of a monkey with its head in its hands. And that was the experience for hundreds of thousands of others who were trying to get online. Now, Elon Musk is saying that it was a DDoS attack. There isn't so far any evidence that they've put forward to prove that this was definitely the case, but saying that it was a massive DDoS attack, a type of cyber attack that attempts to disrupt traffic to a platform, also saying that they were working to shut it down. It took them about 35 minutes or so to get things under control, but Elon Musk also said that he had done rigorous testing in recent days to ensure something like this didn't happen with technical glitches of this kind, saying that they tested with as many as 8 million concurrent listeners, but still huge glitches during the course of this evening, not the type of glitches that either man were hoping to have, but of course, because that is of course now dominating the headlines rather than the conversation itself. Many of the headlines being written up now are all about those technical difficulties that X faced.
All right, Nick, now this interview comes at a time when Kamala Harris was leading Donald Trump in 3 of the important states. And also in this interview, we heard Donald Trump speak his heart out on various issues concerning U.S. and rest of the world as well. Let us get more from you. How do you analyze, or for that matter, how do you gauge the significance of this interview, and how far will it help Trump in the presidential race in wooing the voters?
Well, I guess the hope is for Donald Trump that this gets him into a social media space where he's been struggling in. That's a space that Kamala Harris has been doing particularly well in the just over 3 weeks since she took over from Joe Biden. The youth movement around her, her campaign, is very well plugged into the online space, creating viral memes on her behalf. Donald Trump has struggled there, so the hope is that this propels him into a social media space where he has been lagging recently. Elon Musk also said at the beginning of this conversation he hoped that it would get out there to open-minded, independent voters right across the United States to be able to hear what Donald Trump has to say, because it is coming at a perilous time for the former president. Polls over the weekend showed a complete flip in polling in those important swing states. Just 3 or so weeks ago, when Joe Biden was against Donald Trump, Biden was trailing Trump. Now Trump is trailing Harris by as much as about 4 percentage points in states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, states that will potentially decide this election. And remember as well that Harris has done very well with fundraising in recent weeks as a result of this momentum in the Democratic Party. Trump is hoping that this conversation, this online event tonight, will help to get him fundraising. And there are fundraising adverts being promoted on X as part of this listening experience.
All right, Nick, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. U.S. President Joe Biden spoke on Monday to the leaders of France, Germany, Italy and the United Kingdom to discuss de-escalating tensions in the Middle East and a ceasefire in Gaza. In a joint statement released by the White House on Monday, the leaders of all the 5 countries said that they endorsed a call from the United States, Qatar and Egypt for a renewal of talks for a Gaza ceasefire to conclude a deal as soon as possible. Monday's joint statement stressed there is no further time to lose. It also expressed support for Israel against any Iranian threat, while urging distribution and delivery of aid to Gaza. The leaders also called on Iran to stand down its ongoing threats of a military attack against Israel and discuss the serious consequences for regional security should such an attack take place. The White House, meanwhile, said that U.S. has prepared for what could be significant attacks by Iran or its proxies as soon as this week. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby on Monday said that the U.S. had increased its regional force posture and shared Israel's concerns about a possible Iranian-backed attack after Iran and terror group Hamas accused Israel of carrying out the assassination of Hamas chief. The Biden administration on Monday said that it expects Gaza peace talks to move forward as planned. State Department Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel, speaking to reporters at a briefing, said that the department fully expects talks to continue and that it would continue to work with the parties involved, adding that agreement was still possible.
So I'm aware of those comments from Hamas, and we fully expect talks to move forward as they should. All negotiators should return to the table and bring this deal to conclusion. We believe that there has been headway made, but we need to finalize this agreement, continue to close and bridge some gaps. But we believe that an agreement is possible, and that's something that we're going to continue to work between the parties.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, meanwhile, spoke with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on Monday as part of the de-escalation efforts to ease tensions in the Middle East. Pictures shared online by 10 Downing Street showed Starmer on phone with a caption saying he was talking to Pezeshkian. UK Prime Minister, in fact, asked Iranian President to refrain from attacking Israel and said that the war was not in anyone's interests. Starmer told Pezeshkian that he was deeply concerned by the situation in the Middle East and called on all parties to de-escalate to avoid further regional confrontation. Israel has meanwhile said that it is monitoring developments in Iran regarding a threat to strike against it. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said that the military has not issued new safety guidelines to public, but if needed, would update the home front about any changes as quickly as possible.
We are following what is going on specifically with Iran. With all our capabilities, we are also not following alone. We are following with the United States and other partners. We take seriously the statements and remarks by our enemies, and therefore we are at peak preparedness for attack and defense, and we will act according to the instructions of the political level.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Monday condemned the continued loss of life in Gaza conflict and urged both the sides to rejoin and conclude a ceasefire and hostages release deal.
He welcomes the mediation efforts of the United States, Egypt, and Qatar leaders, and urges both sides to rejoin negotiations and conclude the ceasefire and hostages release deal. The Secretary General reiterates his urgent appeal for an immediate ceasefire and the unconditional release of all hostages. He also again underscores the need to ensure the protection of civilians and for unimpeded and safe humanitarian access into and across Gaza.
We're heading for a short break, but after the break, we will get you more on the Olympic flag arriving in Los Angeles, marking the countdown to the 2028 Games.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. The United States has denied any role in ousting Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who recently quit her position and fled the South Asian nation. A report in an Indian English daily had cited Hasina as accusing the US of playing a role in ousting her because it wanted control over Bangladesh's St. Martin Island in the Bay of Bengal. The newspaper said Hasina had conveyed that message to it through her close associates, while Hasina's son, Sajeev Wazed, in a post on X on Sunday said she never made any such statement. White House person Karine Jean-Pierre called the allegations of US interference simply false.
At all. Any reports or rumors that the United States government was involved in these events is simply false. That is not true. This is a choice for and by the Bangladeshi people. We believe that the Bangladeshi people should determine the future of the Bangladeshi government, and that's where we stand. Any allegations, certainly we will continue to say, and I have said here, is simply untrue.
Doctors across India will go on a nationwide protest from Tuesday in protest against the gruesome rape and murder of a female doctor at R.G. Kar Medical College in Kolkata on August 9th. Demanding justice, doctors from Indian states including Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Chandigarh, Rajasthan, Gujarat and some faculty associations will join the protest. Meanwhile, a two-member team of the National Commission for Women arrived in Kolkata on Monday and took cognizance of the matter. The commission will submit the report on Tuesday. Whereas Indian Medical Association wrote a letter to Union Health Minister J.P. Nadda demanding impartial investigation and speedy trial, the IMA also demanded detailed investigation into the circumstances of the crime and immediate steps to improve the safety of the doctors, especially women, at the workplace. A quick look at other making it to the headlines from across India. The customs officials at Chennai International Airport busted exotic pets smuggling of 22 wildlife species from a passenger, Mohammed Nira Sardar Ali, who came from Thailand. Later, both the passengers and the receiver were arrested. A Noida-based artist is running a campaign in the name of Portraits of Patriots to preserve the memories of the soldiers who lost their lives. The artist makes portraits of Indian soldiers killed in action and gifts them to their families. Weather updates now. An earthquake of magnitude 4.4 struck Los Angeles. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the epicenter was located near the city's Highland Park neighborhood, a few miles north of downtown Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Fire Department said it went into earthquake mode and reported that there are currently no initial reports of structural damage or injuries. Greece's worst wildfire this year spread into the Athens suburbs, forcing hundreds of people to flee as it torched trees, homes and cars and choked busy roads with smoke and ash. Firefighters said flames threatening apartment blocks, schools and parks had reached the deepest into the capital for more than 2 decades. Meanwhile, government has called in help from fellow EU members to tackle the fire that is burning out of control for a second day. The weather has shifted dramatically across many parts of India due to persistent heavy rainfall over the past few days. The Met Department has forecast continuous rain in Delhi NCR throughout the day today. The IMD has also issued an alert warning of heavy rainfall that could potentially cause disruption in several states until August 15. However, heavy precipitation is likely in Arunachal Pradesh until August 15th, in Jharkhand and Odisha until August 16th, in Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura until August 17th, and in West Bengal and Bihar until August 18th. Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat's fate hangs in balance as the nation awaits joint silver appeal verdict. Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat, who secured her place in the final of the women's 50 kg freestyle bout, was unexpectedly disqualified from competing due to her being overweight in the final weigh-in. The heartbroken wrestler filed an appeal with the CAS on Wednesday, requesting a joint silver medal. The CAS deferred the decision to August 13, which the nation eagerly awaits. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Now, this app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.